Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Dawnbringers Season 5 premiere, Rime of the Frostmaiden. And this first episode is entitled, Snow Glows White on the Mountain Tonight. We're just going to embrace the frozen puns right off the bat. I figured I'd own it with the title of this first episode. But it is so exciting to once again be back with everybody here. It's only been a couple weeks since we've played together, but it's been about a month since we've played Dawnbringers together. So we are going to, first of all, I owe you a domain ice there. There it goes. I was looking at the wrong screen. Thanks to Spike for that resubscription, 15 months. It's a good time to tell you about Domain Ice, as I keep calling him now because we're embracing all the cold weather puns. The Domain Dice are our way of letting you, the viewer, have a little bit of an influence on what happens in our game. For every $5 tip, every 500-bit cheer, every subscription, resubscription, and even raids, you look up above Dan and V, you'll see that the Dawnbringers are currently sitting at 165 domain dice right now because of the kindness of the audience like you. Those allow them in clutch situations or at a whim with that many domain dice to simply be able to re-roll d20s. For 2 domain dice, they can cause me to re-roll. They can spend 3 domain dice to gain access to hit dice outside of a rest. 4 domain dice will turn a failed death save into a successful one, but it will take 8 domain dice to turn a critical failure into a success. And for 5 domain dice, the Patron's Blessing, you can turn a hit into a super crit that is a double max damage hit. And our paladins certainly like to hold on to those for those double expenditures versus boss battles, for those triple digit hits, which are just spectacular. I love seeing that when that happens. It does look like there's another domain die. I'll tidy up the domain die after the announcements here. So we're going to get started really quick here with these announcements. The first and foremost, we are very excited to announce that though we have been partnered unofficially with Jasper's Game Day for almost 2 years, Mini Terrain Domain is now an official partner with Jasper's Game Day. That doesn't change anything on your end, but it's just exciting to be able to say that we are officially partnered with such an incredible organization. By typing !Jasper in the chat, as has just been done, you'll see a link where you can donate to Jasper's Game Day. They're an incredible organization dedicated to raising awareness, education, and ultimately the elimination of suicide through tabletop gaming. Another way that you can support Jasper's Game Day is through our partnership with Initiative Coffee Company's Help Action, where we have cooperatively created Metadare roast coffee. For every 12-ounce bag of this coffee that you purchase, $3 of that does go to benefit Jasper's Game Day. We're going to give a shout out to our sponsor, Talon and Claw. Talon and Claw makes incredible wooden dice vaults, DM screens, dice trays. They're making dice towers now, and he's engraving just about anything he can get his hands on with his laser engraver. But you can head over to their Etsy store at Talon and Claw, and when you go to checkout, use code MTDClaw, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. And that will also help to support the channel. So go check that out. Lots of cool stuff over there. And Talon and Claw is a friend of the channel. I will actually be DMing on Saturday morning their first charity stream on the Talon and Claw Twitch channel, the Liberation of the Evangeline. That's right, the Evangeline's making an appearance in their game as they seek to liberate the Evangeline from the notorious pirate Stark Dervish, Captain Dervish. So a little bit of Worlds Crossing there, and then on immediately following that, for the rest of the day, there will be a couple other Jasper's Game Day events taking place on the Wizards of the Coast D&D official channel that I will be producing. But one game by Todd Stashwick, another game by Fenway, lots of great players, all part of raising money for Jasper's, but all in as part of the survivors of suicide and people impacted by suicide stream event that they're doing that day. Huge shout out to D&D Beyond, who has given us insider access. It's how I'm running tonight's adventure, and you can mouse over the stream, of course, and see the players' characters that they will be using and the states that they are in terms of hit points and all that good stuff. They just hit level 12 as we exited the heart of the Nightfang Spire. Let's see. I already talked about domain dice, so that's out of the way. So before we get into the recap and start playing here in the Frozen North, I just want to remind you, or perhaps tell you if it's your first time here, that you matter. That's all there is to it. You matter. You don't have to believe that. You don't have to know who I am or who we are. Just know that you matter. And it can be a struggle, but your presence here on this earth makes a difference. But we know that people struggle, especially in just 2020, which is like a decade's worth of tribulations in 1 year. So what we've done, and as part of our effort to help to destigmatize mental health, is, first of all, we're very open. I am very open about my own struggles with depression and anxiety, and the fact that I have sought the help of a therapist over a year ago and have never regretted that decision. And often find that immediately following my therapy appointments, I feel so much better, things put into perspective. So it's good to have somebody to talk to. But it can be difficult to know where to start with that sometimes. So that is why you can come here to Mini Terrain Domain any time of day or night, whether we are streaming or not. And you can type !help in the chat. And some helpful phone numbers and other resources will pop up on the screen. Plus, they'll pop up throughout the game in the chat as well. We have the National Suicide Lifeline up there. We have the Crisis Text Line of Canada. We have the Canadian Suicide Prevention Services. And we have a link that does connect you directly to resources around the world, the phone numbers, text numbers, and websites. For just whatever country in the world you are in, you can find the service that's relevant to you. Reach out and get that help you may need. We encourage you to do so. With that, let's play some Dungeons and Dragons. All right. The Dawnbringers have come a long way, most notably and most recently, having crawled their way from the top all the way down through the bottom of the Nightfang Spire, the home of the resurrected vampire Gulthias, who was accidentally resurrected by the Dawnbringers themselves so long ago when they destroyed the Gulthias tree that had imprisoned him. Gulthias has returned and was a key prominent figure behind the cult of the dragon, specifically worshiping the cult of Ashardalon, an ancient and powerful dragon that more than one character, but one character in particular, has extremely close ties with. That character, of course, being Cantriel, who has also learned that the blood of Ashardalon flows through her veins, thanks to her father. In addition, as they traveled through this tower, prior to, well, a little ways before they reached Gulthias, they early in the tower they encountered a young woman by the name of Yesha that was near death, had been reserved as a food source. They worked together, they healed her, and she worked with them, helping them throughout their adventures. But at a certain point, she got left behind accidentally during a supposed teleportation event, but what turned out to be a mass hallucination by Gulthias. Nonetheless, Gulthias used that opportunity to capture Yesha. Upon returning to their quest within the tower after their rest, they discovered that her journal had been left behind, and Cantriel found an intriguing entry in the journal that indicated that Yesha was of some import to Talmud in particular. That made Talmud fight all the harder when they actually got to Gulthias and discovered that he was holding her captive, and actually attempted to kill her by throwing her from a very high height in the tower. But thanks to the efforts of the Dawnbringers, a feather fall helped to stop her descent, though she is still not doing very well. Just prior to entering the fight with Gulthias, a vision reached all of them, in which they learned every member of the Dawnbringers and even their recent companion from the Underdark and beyond, Gerithan, they all learned that they had been manipulated in some way, shape, or form, somewhere over the course of the last 100+ years, by the Lady Vantage, a bronze dragon who had acted as their patron. They fought hard and valiantly against Gulthias, and ultimately Gulthias met his true death at their hands. They realized very quickly, Drown in particular, realized that a teleportation portal that was in the room had been damaged during the fight and was becoming very unstable, and it was dangerous to stay there. Grasping his helm of teleportation and a sliver of the deck of the Evangeline, Drown teleported all of the Dawnbringers, and remembering to bring Yesha with them this time, traveling to the deck of the Evangeline. Unfortunately for the Dawnbringers, the Evangeline was not floating gently on the sea, docked just offshore of the Feywild. Instead, they have found themselves in a frozen tundra, just now realizing that they are only on the front half of the ship. The back half of the Evangeline is missing. It is dark, it is cold, snow is blowing everywhere, and a dark shape on dark wings flies somewhere overhead. And that is where we are going to start Season 5, Rime of the Frostmaiden. As real quick, because I don't want to forget this, we've gotten a couple additions in here. You've earned a couple more domain dice, so I want to make sure that I get those awarded to you. Let's see, then put you at 165, and then there's 2 more. There we go. You're at 167 domain ice. There we go. So, Dawnbringers, as you appear on the deck of the Evangeline, there's an instant change in pressure. The air pressure, coming from underground in a temperate zone, or even perhaps tropical, and moving suddenly to this frozen tundra, your ears pop. There's this sudden blast of cold air that you all feel. Talmud, you find yourself on your knees on the deck, cradling the unconscious and bleeding body of Yesha. Cantriel, you stand immediately next to Talmud. The rest of the Dawnbringers, you are all sort of spread out within about 10-12 feet of this whole circle, here and there. The space you were in was roughly about 20 feet in diameter, so you're kind of spread out. A couple of you find yourself near a railing, or near the what's left of the foremast. The main mast of the Evangeline is actually only extends in a splintered fragment about 8 feet above the deck. You can see below, parts of this ship seem to be partially buried in the snow. And before we get into your full reactions, I would like to have everybody make me perception checks, but Talmud, you will do so at disadvantage, as you are currently occupied. Or you can abstain in that perception check as you're focused entirely on Yesha. So go ahead and tell me what you get on your perception checks as the wind is howling around you.
Drown's got a 16.
23.
15 for Thorgarn.
28 for Griveth.
All right, Griveth, Gerithan, and Cantriel. You all notice in particular as your party of 7 suddenly appears on the deck of this fractured ship. You feel it shift a little bit. You hear the creaking of wood, the groaning of the wood under your feet, some of it splintered from whatever it was that fractured this ship. But Griveth in particular, with that very high perception, I'm going to say that when you landed, you're sort of at the forecastle of the ship, raised up a little bit higher than everybody, and you have a kind of a clear vantage. And as you see and feel this shift, you realize that what's left of the Evangeline is perched on the side of a mountain of some height that you are unsure of, because beyond 100 feet you can barely see anything anyway.
Does it look like the ship could lurch off the mountain?
It looks like it's partially buried in it, but your weight appearing suddenly on it where there was none has definitely caused it to shift some. Talmud, I want to go to you as we've just immediately come out of this fray. Already, all of you that are wounded or have blood, whether it's yours or somebody else's on you, have already noticed this blood is beginning to freeze. Talmud, Yesha is unconscious in your arms. What are you doing?
So Talmud hasn't registered the change at all yet. He hasn't registered the change in pressure or the change in temperature, though his body probably is starting to react to it, trembling at the shoulders and the fingers starting to go numb. But he just hasn't realized that that's the case yet. He's just sitting there with Yesha's kind of upper half kind of in his lap, cradling her head and just kind of rocking back and forth. All right, lass, come on, come back. You're fine, you're safe now. Everything's going to be fine, but we need you here. So you need to come back. Wake up, come on.
Cantriel, you're the closest to Talmud.
Hearing Talmud do that, she's going to go right over and fall to her knees and sort of embracing them both in a way, seeing that he's starting to shiver and seeing the state of Yesha. She'll put her hand on Yesha's chest about where her heart is, and her other arm is sort of wrapped around Talmud's shoulder and just gripping the other shoulder. And she sort of does this quick hug with Talmud, and as she does so, he would notice that her hand starts to glow, this prismatic play of light as it starts to emanate from her hand and it sinks into Yesha's chest. She starts to sing, "These tears I've cried 1,000 oceans, and I will cry 1,000 more, if that's what it takes. I'm aware what the rules are, but know that I'm not done. Know that I will keep you, I'll fight for you. From the darkened corridors And through these frozen fields, you know that I will be here always for you. But if I'm gone, oh please, will you remember standing side by side and facing the darkness head on? I can't believe that I would keep you from trying, and I will fight 1,000 more if that's what it takes to bring you home, to bring you home, to bring you home, to bring you home. And then she would just give them a tighter hug, and she's going to do Cure Wounds on Yesha.
All right. At what level?
Considering how you described her, I'm going to do it at 3rd level, please. Thank you.
Alrighty.
And that is going to be... Ooh, that's not too shabby. So that is 13.
As Cantriel's song is rising from within her and spreading around all of you, you can't help but notice, those of you that aren't immediately next to them, that this song does not carry very far beyond the ship. It seems her voice seems to be contained by all of the snow and the falling snow. But Talmud in particular, you notice as Cantriel wraps the two of you in her arms and begins singing, you feel this song working its magic. You've seen this happen before. And Yesha's pale skin takes on just a hint of color. The few crystals of snow that were beginning to cling to her brows and her eyelashes melt as the healing energy warms Yesha's body. She blinks, struggling to open her eyes. And finally, after a moment, as the last of words of this song fade away, she just manages to get her eyes open, and you're not entirely certain if it's melted snow or tears, but she's looking up into your eyes, Talmud, is the first person that she sees. She tries to speak.
No, it's fine. It's okay. You're fine. You're safe. And then it's the first time that he like stops and kind of looks around and realizes that they're not on the tropical seas on the deck of this ship. Where are we? What's going on?
We're not where we thought we'd be.
It appears we're on a frozen mountain. How we got here?
Well,
anybody knows?
She can't stay here like this. He's gonna take his own cloak off and drape it around Yesha.
She's shivering, her teeth are chattering, and she just lets you. She's starting to move a little bit. The healing is enough to give her a little bit of movement and stuff, but she's still pretty weak, having been fed on for at least a couple days by a vampire. Where are we?
Yeah, I'm not sure. listen. Do you remember anything from before? Was there a girl, a small girl, Brea is her name, in any of your memories or your, I don't know what to call them, visions?
She looks up at you, her eyes just sort of darting back and forth between your eyes. I don't remember a little girl.
Talmud kind of stares back at her eyes, almost like he's looking for someone else, like in her eyes. He's trying to look beyond just her face and try to see if he can see any resemblance, any kind of sign that his daughter may be in there somewhere.
Give me a insight check.
It's a 19.
You find what you're looking for in her eyes. For whatever reason, Yesha's not being truthful about not remembering. It's a very thinly veiled that she's withholding that.
Jake, did you say that we were in the middle of a blizzard?
I don't know that it would be qualified as a full-blown blizzard at this point, but it is snowing quite heavily. The wind is blowing around.
On top of an Arctic mountain.
Yeah, so, yes. It's snowing enough that you can't see very well. All of you are starting to feel the effects of this cold.
Right. So while that pause is sort of happening, Drown just sort of stood near the rail up toward the bow, just kind of looking out. And he's pulled the hood of his cloak/sea coat thing up and kind of covered half of his face with it. Although it doesn't seem like he's doing it to protect himself from the cold. He tromps over right into the middle of them and says, "You're all going to die in the cold. None of you are dressed for it. Cantriel, can you create your shelter?
Drown.
Probably below decks."
Drown, I need you to roll me a D100 as you move across the deck.
Oh.
46.
I rolled a 51. And as you all know,
I don't know what that means.
So I use a sliding scale as a reminder for those that don't know. I use a sliding scale where, regardless of what the percentage of something happening is, I roll my D100, and that becomes the 0 point. So if there's a chance of something happening, it's going to happen within X number. You rolled a 46, which is exactly 5 away, and there was a 10% chance of this happening. As you move,
Not if you reroll.
As you move across, what'd you say?
Not if you reroll.
Can we roll these with domain dice?
You can re-roll any dice rolls with domain dice.
I want to see what happens, though. I want to see what happens.
Second roll is a 56.
which is
Hey!
5 in the other direction. It appears to be destiny. Drown, as you walk over to them with these words on your lips, as you move towards them, the entire ship lists and groans. And you all of you feel the entire ship shift.
Walk away, big boy.
So if I stop moving, does it keep shifting, or is it?
If you stop moving,
Stabilizing.
it does
Yeah.
stop shifting. It shifts quite a bit. I'd say it's probably about 5 degrees more of a tilt.
Damn. And this is half the ship?
Yes.
All right. So Drown will not move. He will reach into kind of behind the cloak to the rod of the Pact Keeper that he keeps tucked in his belt. Will grip it and draw upon the power in it to recover a Pact Magic slot, because they are all spent currently, and Misty Step off of the ship down to the ground.
Okay. As your weight is no longer on the ship, I would like you to roll a D100 again. There is now a 20% chance of a thing happening.
Well, that's bad. 77.
The ship seems to settle back about a degree or two. I rolled a 90, which is outside of that. The ship does shift as Drown Misty steps off. You end up having to Misty step pretty much your full 30 feet, and you're now in almost waist deep in a snowdrift. And you can see now into the shattered bowels of the ship as you were down on the ground there. You can see that snow has worked its way quite a bit up inside the lower decks. There's a lot of things that are in disarray within, as is to be expected. But the ship, one, is holding steady, and two, from this vantage point, Drown, you can see that however this ship has landed, the bulk of it seems balanced precariously on the edge of this mountain, and it will not take a whole lot to cause it to shift and begin cascading downward.
Well, it appears, my friends, we have two problems. One, we've got to find shelter, and two, we've got to get off this ship.
I've got the sheltered covered. I'll be the last one off the ship. I can do what he just did.
The wreck is
Ships aren't
teetering
supposed
on
to
the
move.
rocks.
Ships aren't supposed to move on that land. Talmud says, kind of with panic starting to rise in his voice.
Talmud, you hate ships. Get off the damn boat.
If I draw my Hellfire scimitars, do they project any warmth? Is there any comfort from them?
Unless you're going to hit somebody with them, the warmth is probably nominal.
I'm sorry.
Let me hit you to make you feel warmer.
Ow, I feel better. Ow! Ow!
You're cold, you say?
I care about you,
I've got a remedy. Well, I draw them nonetheless and kind of
I mean,
hug them a little bit.
if you've ever used those little like disposable hand warmer things, you kind of shake them up, and they work as long as you're holding onto them and it's just your hand that's warm. That's about as effective as they are.
I'm not losing any fingers.
Just out of curiosity, I think I know the answer to this, but who has resistances? I believe Drown has resistance to cold, and because of the dragon armor
And altitude.
the white
Yeah, I
dragon
was just going to say
armor-
that you don't see Griveth's breath because he actually has the white dragon armor and he has resistance to cold.
So you're not, Griveth and Drown aren't as affected by the cold right now. The rest of
Right,
you,
it'll take longer to freeze us to death.
yeah, you get to watch your friends die.
Would you say
Now,
that
as far as the cold goes, we're actually good.
Would you say that it's so cold that it's actually attacking my psyche? Because in that case, I do have resistance to psychic damage.
Look at you stretching the rules. All right. So, I was looking something up as Talmud was freaking out.
Yeah, and I think with the permission given to him from Thorgarn, he's going to scoop Yesha up and yeet himself off the side of the boat.
This is very important. Which way are you yeeting?
Is there one that was closer than the other?
You were pretty close to the center.
Okay, then we'll say
You can hear
yeet
which side
stage
Drown.
left.
You can hear which side Drown was yelling from.
I will. Yeah, it happened before he realized the boat was moving, so he'll head that direction.
Okay. Because the one side is over the side of the mountain.
Thank
I
you,
don't think he's
Drown.
fast enough to jump in the water.
Yeah. And yeah, so you managed to jump overboard. And because you are dropping down into this big snowbank, you're not going to take any fall damage. You just sort of leap down next to Drown, although you are up to almost your your chest, basically, in this stuff. I need you to roll a D100, as 2 more people have just left the ship and changed its weight distribution.
36.
I've rolled an 88. So the shifting, it seems for a moment that as Talmud just kind of takes those few steps, you feel the ship sort of shift, and then it settles right back where it was as he left, leaving Thorgarn, Cantriel, and Griveth and Gerithan on the ship.
All right, Griveth, Gerithan, let's all do this together. This thing keeps teetering.
Agreed.
Aye, good idea, my friend.
Griveth, keep Dawnbringer out.
Ah, yes. Got it.
I need a target.
Got it.
We'll, I guess, kind of move over to the side and, give a 3
Count to 3.
count, and 1, 2, 3, go.
Let's do it. Ah!
All right. So I need one of you to roll a D100.
Who's feeling lucky?
I got a 67.
So close.
I rolled a 17. You guys are getting lucky. The ship is not. That did not cause anything bad to happen. So Cantriel and Gerithan. Gerithan, did you go with them?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cantriel, you are the last one remaining.
I look over towards the direction for Dawnbringer's light. And Misty step myself the hell off the ship. How's that for a tongue twister?
All right, roll me a D100. There is now a 50% chance that this thing is going to happen.
Of course.
I secretly really want it to happen.
It's a 26.
That. So the very first time when I had Dan roll, I rolled a 51. And he just hit. I rolled a 51 again, which means a 26 is just inside. Cantriel, as you misty step down, you are suddenly standing. There's a moment where you're sort of standing on the surface of the snow and then just sort of settle in next to Griveth in the glow. And the rest of you see behind Cantriel as she just appears, and this mist from the misty step, because of the freezing air, has more of a frost, just sort of dissipates, and then you hear that groaning sound of wood, and you actually hear planks snapping and splintering, and you watch as the remnants of the Evangeline slip over the edge of the cliff just behind Cantriel, and you hear a continuing rumble, and you actually feel some of the snow around you begin to shift a little bit. As the Evangeline tumbles down into the darkness, it appears to be triggering an avalanche below it. The snow you are on shifts a little bit, but you are all quote-unquote safe, because you're still screwed, but the rest of the Evangeline has just fallen down the side of this cliff. You all made it off, though. Now what?
Right, that's why I wanted to go last. If you all can buy me about 10 minutes, I could do my little hut thing again. Something tells me it's necessary. And she looks to Yesha.
The quicker the better. None of you, he kind of looks at Griveth, except you are dressed for this. You'll die very quickly here.
Maybe start a fire while I start the hut.
I'll put the hut around the fire.
Drown looks around at the expanses of snow and rock and no more ship, and just sort of shrugs.
Not really.
I'm going to quote you on that one.
Not really much to build a fire with. How about Gerithan, Drown? You keep a lookout close to Cantriel. Griveth, myself, will do a larger perimeter.
All right. So Cantriel, you're focusing for the next 10 minutes on creating this hut.
She'll take a crystal bead out of her hair, and she's actually going to hand it over to Drown. Break this. Thank you. Now I can start.
All right. Those of you that are sort of making a perimeter, make me a survival check. Each one of you.
I'm going to use a domain die.
Oh, it only takes a minute. Sorry, take that back.
Lehman's
better.
tiny hut?
No, it's just tiny hut.
Oh.
Yeah. 1 minute cast time. 10, 11 if you do a ritual. But if you just burn the spell slot.
Yeah, I have the
Just a
spell
minute.
slot for it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Drown is a 13 survival check.
23.
22.
20 for Griveth.
Drown, you had what? A 13, you said?
Drown, you don't survive.
Everybody survives just fine. Drown, I think because of his pessimistic attitude, doesn't find anything, but the rest of you actually find in the space where the Evangeline was perched, you find several pieces of shattered planking partially buried in the snow as you all sort of walk in that area. Enough to start a fire and keep a fire going for a little while. Just whatever debris from however the ship wound up here, it appears that quite a bit of it broke off. So you are able to gather plenty of firewood. And about that time, Cantriel has completed the spell. Excuse me. And what does your tiny hut look like again?
It's like a green glowing orb on the outside.
All right.
It looks like, a nice little, cabana-esque type thing on the inside.
And
Kidding.
it's persistent for 8 hours, correct?
8 hours, yep. We can see out, they cannot see in.
All right. So with the hut created, you all are able to take shelter in the middle of nowhere in this hut. And is there anything in particular you want to do or talk about as you start your rest inside this hut?
Thorgarn's gonna, go through his stuff, and there's a little bit of organization, and there's definitely some worry and frustration, but he tries to not let it get on his countenance. There's a lot of crap, a lot of shit that's happened in the last 24 hours, and not a lot of it's been unpacked. So he's trying not to let it worry him, since there is so much more to worry about right now.
I think Talmud's main focus is going to be trying to keep Yesha warm and as dry as possible. I don't know if he can maybe scoop some of the snow like in an area, just stomping it down, maybe using Gerithan to kind of move some of it out of the way.
Doesn't the hut have like its own floor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an extra dimensional space, so it's it's the temperature you want it to be, I believe.
Well, then it's nice and comfy in there.
It's warm, it's dry, and we're fine for 8 hours.
Yep. Yesha's cold seems to go a bit deeper than the chill that you were all in for, maybe 15 minutes tops. But she does start to show signs of warming. Most notably, her teeth stop chattering after about a half hour. And she just seems to be holding her knees close to her chest, just huddled in on herself with your cloak around her. Just staring at a spot on the floor.
Are you okay?
That's there's a lot to that question. I feel better.
Okay, well that's good. Look, I know that ever since you've met us, you've been in kind of a tight spot, but that's really just kind of the way things are for us the majority of the time. So it's probably going to be fine. And he's kind of looking around as if like he's not the person to be trying to have this conversation, and he's like looking for a rescue. But we've gotten out of worse spots before. I mean, not all of us, but most of us have.
What he's trying to say is that you're safe and we're going to take care of you.
That.
But what about what he did? And
Althias.
I imagine even with Cantriel's healing magic, there's still bite wounds on her neck that haven't healed. I don't even know how long it was. But he was biting me and drinking my blood.
Talmud kind of clasps the hand on her shoulder and kind of meets her gaze for a long moment, and he says, well, dear, there are some wounds that simply don't heal. I'm afraid that there's not much that we can do about it, but if you need, there are those of us who have been through hardships, so we know. And if you need to talk, well, we're here.
I'm just afraid that I could become what he was.
I think Talmud, like, it gets a little bit of a worried look on his face that he might not be able to, like, stifle in time. And then he's going to start looking around for Griveth and Thorgarn as if, like, almost wishing that they would explain that that's not the case.
Griveth, Thorgarn.
So do you actually like try to call us over, or are you just kind of like looking and hoping that we acknowledge?
Are we already in the shelter at this point?
Yeah, you guys are in pretty cozy parameter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 7 of you in this tiny hut. I mean, it's called a tiny hut, and a couple of you are pretty good sized and bulky. So I imagine you're all kind of shoulder to shoulder around this thing.
Now, I haven't studied much in the way of those kinds of creatures, but I imagine if there was something to be had from a change, it probably would have happened already.
Thorgarn and Griveth, you can make me religion checks. Yeah, just make me a religion check or a history check.
Only at 11 for me.
17 religion.
Can Cantriel do it too? Because she's got Monster Hunter as a ranger.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to go with history. That's going to be a 27. I just got a nat 20.
Well, while Thorgarn, Father Greffin had talked about various monsters where there seems to be some crossover with religious practices, and some are affected by the various gods. You search your mind and you just can't quite, you just don't recall anything. Maybe you just never heard anything to do with vampires. Cantriel, on the other hand, you know that in order for somebody to be turned by a vampire, they have to be drained by the vampire, and then the vampire, they must be interred in the ground overnight with the vampire that turned them before they themselves will actually turn. Simply being bitten by the vampire is not enough to cause the change.
So Cantriel will rip off a section of the lower area of her overskirt and creates this long strip, and she goes over to Yesha.
Look, dear, I understand that it's scary, and rightfully so. You have been through hell.
And as she's saying this, she's just gently wrapping the material around her throat over where the bite marks are.
But there is a silver lining to this. You're not going to turn into what he was.
Are you sure?
I know it for a fact.
I have a question. Since Griveth was so intimately connected with Golthias, if there's any shard or darkness or anything left that could manifest, would he have any sense that that's still around?
I would say
Like a feeling?
sort of basically kind of using your divine sense, but channeling that memory of that tainted energy that you carried with you for so long.
Yeah.
You sort of surreptitiously reach out with that feeling, that divine sense, and you infuse it with that memory, and you find nothing. Not only from Yesha, but you sense nothing, neither holy, consecrated nor desecrated, within the range of your divine sense. There's none of the taint. In fact, I would even go so far as to say when Golthias died, you may only just now realize it, but there's a sort of sense of relief, like you believe he died the true death, and that taint that threatened you, and maybe you held onto a fear that it could once again take hold of you, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt it's gone.
So I say to her, my dear, do not worry. None of that beast lives on in you. You are free.
I just told her that.
And
And
she
very well you did.
She kind of smiles up at Griveth, having already you could see in her eyes that she believed you, Cantriel. And then she kind of smiles as Griveth seems to offer that extra reassurance. And sorry, Barker just got me in the chat. He said my camera has better resolution than his eyes. You got me, Barks. Anyway, Yesha kind of looks to you, Talmud, looks back at you, and then she looks around at everybody so close, but seems comforted by Cantriel's proximity. After, and kind of reaches up, feeling that bit of fabric that you tied around her throat to cover the bite wounds. And then she kind of looks over at you, Talmud. I know who you're talking about. I know what you're and who you're looking for.
think he kind of rocks forward enough that he can kind of see a little bit better by the kind of low firelight that they have going in here. Tell me. Don't tell me everything you can, please. I beg of you.
I know that you want me to be her. You want her to be me. And I think in some way I am, but I'm not. I don't know how to explain it other than I was, and then I became someone else. And then someone else. Now I am Yesha. And I have been Yesha. But I think I'm the others too. If that makes sense.
Talmud kind of chortles and he says, I understand it better than you might think, actually. These people, you say they're with you now, a part of you. There's I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but sometimes there will be moments where one of these others will surface, and you may not be aware of what's said or what happens in those moments, but it's all right. It can be scary at first, but you can get used to it.
It's only if I think real hard on it. Like when I'm really tired, before I fall asleep. I know that I am Yesha Folkin. I come from a place called Dry Lake. I've been Yesha for all 19 years of my life. And I'm a human, but I remember when I was Mikkel, Brightmane. I was Mikkel for 45 years. But I was a gnome. Just learning from my father how to make things, how to tinker. And before Mikkel, I remember who I was. I remember you. But it's a memory like I'm seeing it through someone else's eyes. I was so scared when I first saw you. When I saw your face. After all of you rescued me. I couldn't believe it to be true. And I thought maybe it was some herald of darkness come to take me. But I've seen what you can do and what all of you can do. I don't know why. I don't know why I died. I don't know why I came back as a gnome boy. And why I died again. And why I came back. It's a human girl. I don't know what my purpose is. I'm afraid if I die again, it might be the last death. Or will I come back somewhere else as someone else? I've only just found you. What will happen?
I can't promise you anything. But as long as I'm still standing and still drawing breath, I'll do everything that I can to keep you safe. And make sure that you don't have to find out the answer to that question. Not anytime soon, at least.
She kind of nods and I want you to make me a dexterity saving throw. Now, technically, you have advantage on this.
Whatever it is, I don't see it coming, so...
Especially not with what I just rolled.
Well, I rolled a 1, so Jake, here you are on a silver platter, sir.
So, Yesha just rolled a, where is it? Just rolled a 26 on her sleight of hand. As you barely hear, it's so quick, Cantriel doesn't even notice it until it's already happened. That's how fast it is. As she goes, you all hear this slight sound of metal against leather. And there's a dagger at your throat, Talmud. And then she smiles and she pulls it away. It'll be good knowing that I have you at my back. But also know that I can take care of myself. I will do what I can to pull my own around here. I may be a human, but sometimes I think I've got a bit of dwarven stubbornness that rises to the surface.
You are one of a very short list of people that has ever pulled a knife on me and can still talk about it. So I'll let it go this time. But he kind of like pulls some of like the beard hairs that she cut like with the blade and like sprinkles them into the fire. Don't ever do that again.
I thought it was rather good.
You're getting slow in your old age, old man.
Maybe.
All right. Is there anything anybody else wants to do during this rest?
So I have to ask a quick question. Obviously, there's information that we as players know, but how much was like, straight up said? Because I don't think anyone besides Cantriel.
Oh, that's a great point. The subtext, you may have picked up some of the subtext, but I imagine everybody except for Talmud, Cantriel, and Yesha are trying to piece together what the heck is going on. Because, yeah, Cantriel's the one that read the journal entry and talked privately to Talmud.
Uh-huh.
So none of you actually were privy to, though Yesha didn't know that. So yeah, you guys are just privy to a conversation that you are just sort of. So I will let you decide how your characters piece that together and react to what the heck just happened.
So, Talmud, Yesha, you remember being a dwarf. Talmud, was this a past love?
Oh. No,
What?
no, Thorgarn.
Yesha
What's
just starts
the story,
laughing.
Yesha?
You are so off the mark. It's not even.
Ugh.
Well, actually, it's hysterical.
No,
I mean,
she.
Well, fill us in. Fill us in.
Only if you want
Going to
to, both
sound-
of you.
Crazy. I think that maybe she is the reincarnated soul of my daughter.
all the things we've been through, and you're not gonna share that you had kin? I'm not gonna hold it against you, but
You didn't even.
hey, lass, welcome to the family.
I thought you knew, Thorgarn. I'm sorry. It's not something I like to talk about typically. So
And the encounter that Griveth had with Talmud in the ether, he kind of he just it suddenly snaps in his mind like, what? Oh, like kind of like, oh, that's how that could happen, because of the whole encounter that he had when he brought Talmud back. So
Yeah, when Talmud died, Griveth was privy to some very intimate knowledge on this relationship as well, seeing a different version of it from
he's finally just put it together.
the border ethereal.
Well, we have no idea where we are. We have no idea where our crew is. We don't know where the other half of the ship is. We've got to find someplace safe and as close to warm as we can. I mean, if we've got the ability to do this every night, that's one thing, but can only survive for so long in this kind of weather.
But look on the bright side, we're totally open for adventure. New quests await. New challenges.
You know I can kick you out of this thing.
What? There's no need for that, Cantriel. I'll behave. Mostly.
Good.
So it seems to me that barring magic of some sort, our only two options are either down the mountain or into it somehow.
Jake,
Maybe
what
we should have
time of
rode
day
the
was
boat
it?
down the mountain.
Say again, Dan.
What time of day was it?
Night.
Did that match up with the time we left the spire? I will admit, I do not remember what time of day it was.
You don't know what time of day it was because you were inside and underground.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah, it was so many days that it was just like they were one random.
And there was a theory that you guys were playing around with that time wasn't working right, though that was before
even if it was, we had a bunch of hallucinatory episodes.
Right, so
who knows how long we were staring
Yes.
at walls.
So, unless anybody has anything else they would like to explore in character, we can settle in for the next 8 hours, and you can all finally press the long rest button on your characters. And those of you watching the D&D Beyond overlay will shortly see as their hit points and abilities refresh. And this is a good place for us to take our usual break. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in tonight for our season premiere of Season 5 of the Dawnbringers, Rime of the Frostmaiden, Episode 1, Snow Glows White on the Mountain Tonight. So we are going to take about a 10-minute break. Please do stick around. Thank you to everybody who has already donated in bits and subscriptions and whatnot. We appreciate that, to the ever-growing collection of Domain Ice up there in the corner. But we will return in about 10 minutes to conclude this first of many episodes of the Dawnbringers. We'll see you on the other side of the break. And we're back. All right, thanks everybody for sticking around during the break. We're going to pick up as Cantriel, having been the one to create this this magical dome, this tiny hut. You're attuned to the magic, and you know when it's reaching its expiration date, I guess. So you know there's not much longer. So you have time to warn everybody to kind of brace up as best you can for the inevitable cold that is about to hit you.
Bundle up, everyone. This thing's going to go pop.
Does anybody have anything in their gear that they can use to attempt to bundle up, as Cantriel says?
That's a very good question. I have a disguise kit, so
I'm going to disguise myself as
Could
somebody
I
warm.
fashion my
right?
bedroll?
Bunny. I'm gonna disguise myself as a snow bunny.
Well, that's a good point Gerithan brings up. Everybody has, I believe everybody has a bedroll, which consists, I won't make that assumption. Many of you may have bedrolls.
Yes.
If you do, part of that bedroll would probably be like a wool blanket. I would say it's not going to do much for you, but well,
I'm sorry. I'm looking at my equipment. I forgot I had the book of erotic poetry.
wait, where did you get a book of erotic poetry?
None of your business.
Oh, that's weird. I have one too.
Wasn't that alternate Cantriel that had that in the? Wasn't that from the Western?
No, I don't remember. It's just this was
no.
this was
That's just something Cantriel's always had.
All right. I'm starting to feel like I'm supposed to be surprised, but I'm not. Am I missing something?
I forgot it was there. I completely forgot it was there. I'm sorry.
Well, just looking for things to keep you warm.
Okay, well, I have ivory goats.
So start
We can
reading it out loud.
You have
I
ivory.
can summon some ivory goats, and we can
goats.
tauntaun.
Goats. I thought you were saying
Yeah.
ghost.
No, ivory goats. The
Yes,
goats of
that's
terror.
right. You've
We
got
can we can tauntaun somebody.
I actually, looking through my stuff, recalled that I have the boots of the Winterland. So I actually also have resistance to cold damage.
Oh yeah, we could put Yisha on the tauntaun.
I think you meant in the tauntaun.
So, you all prepare yourself for the inevitable. The greenish glowing dome dissipates as its time runs out. And once again, the air around you comes in, though you've been in here for 8 hours, so you sort of have held on to this warmth. Your body temperatures, your core temperatures are up. So it's still very cold, but it is no longer snowing. But it is still night. And you all are greeted as the spell dissipates by a sky that is in shades of blues and purples. But ribbons of magical green light are cascading in an aurora across the sky. You can see beyond that the veil of stars. But you also can see that because it's not snowing, you can see across the snow for quite a ways. Looking around, you can easily see not far from where you place the hut, and the place in the snow where the hut sat for the 8 hours. You look nearby to the edge, the ledge where the Evangeline lay perched, and there's no sign of the Evangeline down below, but you can see the mounds of snow where it was disturbed, some of the rocks sticking out. This part of this mountain was a bit steeper, though not far from you, a couple 100 yards to your left, you can see that there's areas that it's not as steep. Most notably, as you look, you can't see forever. There's a haziness and snow kicked up in the distance, but you can see a lot further than you could 8 hours ago. But you do notice that off to your left, not quite sure what direction that is, you do see that there is a lower section of the mountain, and you can just make out some sort of structure in the snow. It looks like it could be a cottage or a cabin or a lodge of some kind.
Ah, Dawnbringers, our quest begins! Let us be off.
Gerithan rolls his eyes.
Like, roughly how far away are we talking, Jake?
I would say without... Distance is hard to estimate. It could be a couple hundred, several hundred meters. It could be a mile. You're not quite sure without anything. There's no trees anywhere to be seen. There's nothing to really give you a sense of scale. Even with the Evangeline gone, buried presumably in the avalanche, you can't tell. It does look like it might, even if it's just a few hundred meters away, it's probably still going to take you an hour or two to trudge through the heavy snow to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, we're on a mountain, so so the only people who have protection from the cold are myself, Griveth, and Talmud, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Drown will sort of pull himself up, spend a little while staring in just sort of stone-faced perplexity up at the aurora that is still nighttime, and he'll look around, get his bearings, and then shrug his kind of heavy cloak off and hold it out toward Cantriel. I don't need it.
Are you sure?
He looks around. My people are born of the mountains.
Well, thank you. And I can only imagine this is like, you know, the 5-year-old little girl playing in her father's closet scale. So it's like, puts this thing on and it's just like...
It's like a tarp, yeah. I mean, it's made of like oilcloth, like you would make a sea coat out of. So it's
Okay.
waterproof, at least. It's not wool or anything, so it's not great.
So
but
she'll pop it on and she'll like roll the sleeves up so her hands can at least be out.
yep. The best move.
Do you have something to pin that?
This will have to do for now.
Well, I just mean, you know, what are you, like 5.5 feet tall? He's like almost 7. There's like 2 feet of extra cloak.
So
well, she's like 5'8".
his
So
Drown's cloak on him is actually pretty short, so the length is probably not too much of an issue.
All right.
okay.
Besides, you could probably do that thing where I'm sure we've all done it. You take a blanket and just sort of shrug it up over your shoulders an extra, you know, raise it up a foot or two.
She's nicely wrapped.
Yeah. So
It's ridiculous for sure.
Griveth is already carving a trench in the snow as he begins wading in the direction of this cabin. I'm going to need, as you are moving towards this cabin, I'm going to need Constitution saving throws from Thorgarn, Gerithan, and Cantriel. What, Jeremy, the Boots of the Winterland, they just give you resistance to cold?
They do resistance to cold and something else that's not related. Well, what? Actually, maybe.
I think you ignore difficult terrain from snow and ice.
Yes. Yep. Created by snow or ice.
So, weirdly, I'll say, Talmud, you're pulling a. He's
Legolasing
yes,
across the snow.
You're pulling a Legolas where you're able to sort of trudge across the top of the snow. You sink maybe a couple inches, but not like your cousin who is in like waist deep snow at times. Also, Jeremy, go ahead and roll a con save for Yesha for me.
Can I try to light one of my torches for warmth?
You can certainly try.
Doesn't work.
I'm going to use a domain die on my roll because the 2 on the die I am not happy with.
Okay.
I have a 26 on my second attempt.
All right, you're good.
I also
Gerithan?
used a domain die to get to 24.
All right. Cantriel?
Got a 15.
And Yesha.
I rolled an 8 on the die.
Everybody except for Yesha seems to be dealing with the cold very well.
Cantriel's gonna hurt me. So we might use a domain die on that.
Okay.
Oh God, it's not my fault. I rolled a 2 this time, so
Okay.
the 8 will have to.
So
stand.
for the first hour, those of you with cold resistances, you find that the cold just doesn't bother you. But the rest of you, I tried to say it with a straight face and I just couldn't. And the rest of you, the cold isn't affecting you right now. But Yesha, at the end of this first hour, her teeth are chattering and she's just, all you hear, Talmud, next to you is, shit, it's cold. But you are getting closer to this cabin. For a long time, it didn't look like it. It does take you another hour to get there. Yesha currently has 1 point of exhaustion, 1 level of exhaustion. And I need all of you that are not cold resistant to make 1 more con save for me. Jeremy, go ahead and roll for Yesha again. Jeremy, I'm going to have you basically running Yesha for the time
I'm using
being.
one of these things.
Ditto.
Nobody wants to freeze.
That's better. It's a 17.
It's a dirty 20.
I used a domain die and I ended up with 10.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
I rolled a 12 on the die.
Okay. Nobody takes any points of any further levels of exhaustion or new levels, though Gerithan, you sense that if you had to be out here much longer, you would probably start to feel the cold. You just barely passed this con save. However, you have found yourself as you approach this that you are just outside of this cabin. It's sort of perched on the edge of a snowy ridge, and now that you're up here close to it, you can see just beyond it that there is a gorge below it. This black lodge, darkened black wood, sits up on wooden stilts about 20 feet high. Whatever path may have once led to this place is long since buried in the snow. You do see that there are icy steps that climb to a snow-covered walkway that clings to the outside of the structure. The cabin has this sort of 20-foot section that, as you're facing it, it's to your right, and then about a 40 or 50-foot section that extends towards the edge of the gorge. It looks as though where this cabin was perched once upon a time was more on solid ground, but that whole left section of the cabin, the pieces of the mountain have fallen away below it. So part of it does extend over the edge, just a small bit.
When you say icy steps, are they like normal steps that are,
Yes,
wintry
they're
frozen over? They're not
yes.
like carved ice.
No, they're made of wood.
Okay. Cool.
And they are covered in snow and ice. Looking at this cabin, it's slumped. The roof is sagging. It's leaning in places. Snow is piled high in sections of the roof. You can see some broken windows. A couple of shutters hang loose. You get the sense that this place is abandoned. There's snow drifts blowing up against the stilts that this thing stands up on. You can see 2 stone chimneys rising up at different points out of the roof. And closest to you, there are two additional small structures, one of which is a woodshed that does have some firewood in it, and what looks to be a small wooden outhouse.
So as you guys are coming down the mountain, Griveth sees, how miserable the people are that don't have the frost resistance. So he's trying to lift their spirits, that everything will be fine, and we're destined to be, for greatness and all this blah 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 blah, and annoying as usual. And but you do strangely. Griveth's belief in your destinies is actually manifesting in you, and you feel a little bit invigorated from it, surprisingly, as you groan at his just constant droning about how you're the chosen, and you all gain 15 temporary hit points.
Dang, all of us.
Yep. All right, so you guys are sort of standing there by this woodshed and this outhouse looking at this cabin. What would you like to do?
So Drown will hold out his hand, and in that spray that's usually seawater as his staff appears, it's kind of a little blast of tiny ice crystals and snow that drifts down to the snow at his feet. And he sort of gestures up towards it with his chin and says, "Perhaps there's some heavier clothing there. At least it's shelter."
Does it appear if there's any smoke coming out of any of the chimneys?
No, there's no smoke. This place, looking at its the shape it's in, you get the sense this is probably an abandoned lodge.
Is there any debris of the Evangeline near the lodge?
No, the direction you went towards this is probably about, I would say, 70, 80 degrees to the left of where the Evangeline went down. So, and given that you traveled a couple hours, the Evangeline could be miles to your right.
Would you say that we used up all the wood bits we found when we had the hut, or do you think there were any left?
I would say no, since the hut is climate controlled.
Oh, okay.
I can't imagine you guys would burn.
Carry those.
I can't imagine you would burn a fire inside an enclosed dome like that, and you're all.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't.
You
make
all
sense.
died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
That's what I was kind of thinking. So I was
So
thinking
yes,
that
you
I
could
would
have the
carry
wood
those.
with you.
I would carry the wood with us. So yeah.
There's also firewood, cut firewood in this woodshed next to you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Nope.
But I don't know, just as a general mindset, we're not seeing any trees anywhere, right?
There are just around the area. So down the gorge, you do see just some what looks like emerging from possible previous avalanches. You can see the peaks of some frozen over spruce trees. There's a little bit of shrubbery nearby. There's some broken planks from the wooden walkway that runs around, but no trees nearby. Not any sign of a forest. Wherever this wood came from, it was brought here.
So, I'm gonna guess, if I'm proficient in survival, would I have like the knowledge of a hunter's cabin, and know that if somebody set this kind of thing up for particular times of the year, that if we were to use firewood and not replace it, that could cost someone their life.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to infer on your own, but you at the very least would be familiar. It's not an odd sight to see in a remote location that perhaps a ranger or somebody created this at one time as a way station in the wilderness.
So, Thorgarn would point that out, that if we use that wood, we really should be looking to find a way quickly to replace it, because we have got magical means to stave off the heat where the folk who might be using this place wouldn't.
I think the first order of business is to get you guys warm. Let's get inside and get this thing warmed up. We can worry about that later.
Talmud wants to start making his way into the cabin, if at all possible. And the first place he's headed is the hearth to inspect it.
Okay,
You
so
said this place looks long abandoned.
Yeah, Griveth heads in with them also.
it
Hang on, fellas.
it looks like it has been abandoned. It's hard to tell how long in this state. I mean, something that was abandoned yesterday when there was a blizzard could look like it's been abandoned for a year.
Sure.
But there's
Basically, what I'm wondering is when something's left out to the elements and nature, a lot of stuff doesn't necessarily last long. Like, how sturdy do these stairs look?
well,
This
you can
ground
see
is very heavy.
you can see pieces of broken wood and a handful of missing planks. And most notably at the western edge of the which would be to your left, where it's sort of perched precariously over this gorge, you can see that the walkway probably continued around the house but has fallen away when whatever broke away happened.
Yeah.
So there's
Do not like.
there's a door very close to that edge over the gorge where there are large gaps in the wood, and there's a door. There's a couple windows there, and there's a door. So you've got this where the stairs come up, sort of perpendicular to where you are. Then they continue to the north for about 20 feet. There is another door and window there, much closer. And there's only a couple of missing planks.
You said the house is on stilts.
Yes, it's raised up about 20 feet above the snow.
All right. So Drown will point to the collapsed walkway, the collapsed porch, and say, "Caution! Looks like it's falling apart."
Talmud, you start heading up the steps with Yesha in tow. And you hear that when it's really cold, that sound that wood makes, that kind of creaking, but also the loud popping sound as the ice that's sort of woven into the grain and has been there for a while sort of pops and snaps. A little bit of creaking and groaning, but it seems to hold your weight as you move around, up and around, easily stepping over these gaps. So far, the walkway seems to be able to hold your weight just fine. And you come to a window with a door right next to it.
He's going to kind of take a cursory look through the window just to kind of see what's on the other side before he then goes for the door.
All right. You peer inside. It's very difficult to get a good look in here. The window is covered with frost, almost like magical runes have etched their way in from the frost that coats it. You know it's not any kind of magic. It's just the way that frost acts to the glass. But it looks like there's some kind of a workshop in there. You can just make out a table with some stuff on it, and you can see that there is some kind of a shelf in there as well, like a bookshelf.
Okay. Not seeing any, immediate movement or anything like that, then he's going to move to the door and throw it open.
All right. Indeed, you do see that this is some abandoned workshop that frost is covering just about every surface. You're sort of entering on the from the western side of this little 20 by 20 section. The easternmost window is broken. Snow has blown in a bit. There is a large wooden table sort of in the center of the room. There's quite a few bits of twisted metal, You can see that there's a set of smith's tools and some tinker's tools spread out across the desk. And on the north wall, there is a mostly empty bookcase with a few scraps of paper and other odds and ends on it. No other exits or entrances in this room.
And there's not a hearth or a fireplace at all in here.
Not in here. Based on what you saw from outside, the chimneys were further into the main structure.
I think we're going to have to push deeper. We're not going to be able to stay very warm in here. We need to get to that hearth.
From where you're at, the only other door is on the far western edge of where the wooden planks have begun to break away and fall right on the edge of where that gorge is. But there are windows, and there is one such window about 10 feet away from you.
Does the room that we're in and the room that we think the hearth might be in, do they share a wall?
There is yes.
And does it look like it's just made out of plank?
It's made out of sturdy wood.
He's going to test that, just to kind of like push on it real hard with his hand to see how worn it might be.
Like just pressing against the wall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels firm.
I think this is too strong to go through.
It feels like a load-bearing wall.
If we start hacking through this, then the feet might give out from under it. I think we're going to have to go around close to the nervous spot.
The window that's closest to you is a good 15, 20 feet away from the worst part of the... So if you wanted to walk around there, you could peer into that room.
I imagine somebody else might be doing that while Talmud's poking about.
So yeah, while Talmud and Yesh have gone up there, Yesha's standing next to you. You get that Yesha has that looking around almost like you're expecting to have warmth now that you're out of the elements and inside a building, but it's a building that's in those same elements, and if nothing else, all of a sudden you just see her breath. Her lips have turned almost blue. She's so cold. She tries to distract herself as you hear the sound of the metal scraping across the table as she moves a couple pieces. There's a few tools here. I don't know what good they'll be. What are the rest of you doing? Is anybody else coming up behind Talmud, checking out this other...
I'll try the other side.
Okay. So
I'm coming up behind Talmud.
Thorgarn, you make your way past that door to that window. You look into a room that looks to be about 25 feet across and a good 30, 40 feet wide. Almost within less than 10 feet from the window, you see a cold hearth on the eastern wall of this room. You see a table, some benches, and some other things in this room. And you can see that there are other doors off of that room leading to other parts of the cabin. The window is cracked but not broken.
But is there another door to get into that room?
There is, about 20 feet to your left, across a gap and precariously close to the where the walkway has broken off at some point in the past.
I mean,
the gap is not so big that you couldn't cross it. It just looks like it's less sturdy and drown warned about that area.
Does the window open? Or is it just like panes set in a frame?
Are you up there with them, or?
Mostly just Dan asking.
Okay. Talmud or Thorgarn, it looks like you could either break the window or you could possibly slide the window up.
I mean, I would probably slide the window up if it looks like that's possible, but he wouldn't do anything that would risk breaking it if it's if it's leading into the room that we want to trap heat in. Any area where he can get out, is a problem.
Yeah, I'll say you're able to get a hold of it, and it protests a little bit, but it's a window, and you're a dwarf. You're able to get it open. It's not nailed shut or anything. It's a little bit of a noisy affair, and it makes this very irritating squeak of wood on wood as the wood is swollen a bit, but just kind of, and you get it up, and the window's big enough that it looks like everybody would be able, any of your party would be able to crawl through the window and get into this room.
I'll give a shout back, let everybody know that, hey, you don't have to cross the dangerous planks if you want to crawl through a window.
Are Talmud and I in the hearth room?
Carefully start heading that
No,
way.
the room you were in was a workshop.
Okay, we haven't entered the hearth room yet. Okay.
Nobody has, because there were no other entrances into it, but Thorgarn
Gotcha.
just did going through the window.
Gerithan very eagerly follows, hoping to get out of the cold as he's shivering.
And anybody that does so, you are able to cross those planks. Everything seems sturdy enough. Even Drown, maybe testing your steps, but everything feels sturdy enough as you walk up there. And you all find yourself in a large room. This room does. The first thing you notice when you enter the room, and Thorgarn, of course, you would have noticed this first. And as the others of you are getting in there, you start to smell it as well. There is a lingering smell of burnt wood, and you can also smell the scent of burnt flesh. You catch a faint odor of wine as well. You can see there's places where snow has fallen in through holes in the roof, and then the wind has pushed it into the corners, where a couple of windows, other windows in this room are not completely broken out, but have been broken in places. The walls and the furniture of this room are scorched black. The table in the middle of the room is completely, the entire surface of it has been charred, and there are the charred remains of a book sitting on the table. Next to the table, on the floor, amid several broken wine bottles, you see the mostly incinerated skeleton of a human person, or human-sized person, and a round frost-covered object about 6 inches in diameter. What would you like to do?
I will wait till someone else enters the room, and
I think several of us are in there, yeah?
Yeah, at this point, everybody's sort of quickly piling in. Gerithan quickly made his way, and maybe Talmud and Thorgarn, or excuse me, Talmud and Griveth sort of coming in after everybody walked past them. And you all see this.
Just from over here, does it look like, clearly the whole house didn't burn down. Whatever that object is it kind of centrally located in all the fire damage? Or, like, how is it? Like, is it obvious that this thing is in the middle of where whatever this conflagration happened? Or is it just sort of, like, randomly?
The table itself seems to be the central location. Perhaps the figure was standing next to it, maybe dropped the thing. There's, and all around the edges, it has the appearance, and this most likely would account for why the lodge itself didn't burn down. It has the appearance of a very sudden, hot fire that happened and immediately went out. Just enough to scorch the wood and completely incinerate a person and the book on the table.
Awesome.
what does this orb look like again, please?
What does what?
What does the orb or the sphere look like?
It's covered in soot, and it just looks like about a 6-foot diameter round object.
6 foot
Sorry,
diameter.
sorry.
It's just this massive Pilates ball in a ring.
There's just a giant triple axis
6
hanging out in the middle of
inches.
the room.
6 inches.
It's just
Okay,
pushing
got
to
it.
the
So there's a kickball over
that,
there.
that look on your face. Dan's like, I know you make modifications to these adventures, but still.
I was thinking, ball.
Yes,
Not
yes, 6 inches, not 6 feet.
All right.
cool.
You guys are gonna observe something that Thorgarn has never done before. He's gonna cast Detect Magic.
Oh shit.
Oh, okay.
So a quick prayer to Moradin.
So while he's doing that, Drown is going to look to the fireplace and start clearing it out, and sort of say over his shoulder to Griveth, "Bring the firewood."
Okay.
Got it. So yeah, he reaches in the pack, getting out the wood as quickly as possible, shoving it in the fireplace.
And then Drown, I imagine, is arranging it appropriately.
Yeah. Actually, I'll build a little fire lay, and then as soon as it's all arranged in there, he'll hold out his closed hand. His eyes will flash and his tattoos will ripple, and he'll open his hand, and a bluish-green flame, prestidigitation, will erupt along the wood. And eventually it'll turn to normal colored fire. But it starts out creepy, spooky, spectral blue.
All right.
Before Drown does that, Griveth reaches out a hand and puts it on his shoulders. Hold on, friend. And I look under the fireplace and look to see if I can see up the flue. Do I see sky?
Yes, it's a clear.
Sturges.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
There's a dragon inside
We
the
don't want another
fireplace.
conflagration.
Dark mantle.
Yeah. Blowback.
No, you come face to face with a squirrel.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah, Drown will light the fire, and then let's see what happens with
all right.
investigative.
Get it off.
Meanwhile, Thorgarn, you cast your detect magic, and this orb actually begins to glow faintly. You catch up a very faint residual aura of transmutation magic. There's also a glow coming from amongst the ashes and bones of the person.
So I'm gonna pull out my my war pick, which is just generally been stashed in my bag, and I'm gonna roll out the orb, sift through, and find the glow of whatever this other item is, and pull that out as well.
So as you sort of sift through the remains, you kind of push aside what looks like a chunk of charcoal at first, but as you push it aside, you realize it's the mostly charred skull of a human person. And you find a surprisingly shiny object amidst the soot. There appears to be some sort of amulet that is glowing with enchantment magic.
Folks, it looks like this poor person left a couple of things behind. I think once we've had a chance to warm up and what have you, I would like to give them some kind of burial. But we've got an amulet and an orb here.
Are you taking the amulet and the orb, or?
I've definitely pulled them out without having touched them.
Right. Okay.
What do you think happened, Thorgarn?
That's not really something I would consider myself good at. Obviously they burned to death, but I don't know whether that
Something burned incredibly hot and exceedingly fast, but not very long.
Thorgarn, since you moved these objects with your pickaxe, Where you disturbed this sort of round object, you actually see where your pickaxe touched it. Pickaxe touched it. That you've disturbed some of the soot, and you can see that there is shiny metal exposed beneath, and you can just make out a single rune of some kind etched into this bit of metal.
Is it like Arcana rune, or is it like rune as in like a language?
You'd have to get a closer look at it. It's just basically like uncovering a single letter partially.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll go. Like once I pull those things aside and told everybody that it's there, I will push around some more and see what I can see. It's obviously it's not glowing, but there's something that's there.
What are you doing to try to get a better look at it?
I mean, obviously, if using my war pick, uncovered it, I'll continue using that thing. Something's going to happen to the war pick.
You're at best, whenever you touch it, you sort of make these little marks across it. You're not marring the metal. You're just clearing the soot's kind of baked on, but you're just dragging your war pick across it. Mm-hmm. It's not like knocking it loose, so it's hard to get a good look. It's like if you took one of those black scratch things where you're supposed to scratch a design into it. Mm-hmm. That's what this is. You're making tiny little lines in and exposing lines of silver beneath it.
Folks, it looks like there's something else here, and I know I've definitely read something, and bad things have happened before. Do we want to look at this at all, or do we want to say better keep it undisturbed?
You have already disturbed it.
Right, but I read something, even just in my head before, and bad things happen. So hadn't gotten that far. Can't really make it out.
Could you determine anything about it with your spell?
Did not register magic.
Yes, it did.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It did register magic. This was the item that registered a faint aura of transmutation magic.
I thought the orb did.
This is the orb.
Oh, I thought you... All right.
There's two items here. An amulet that you uncovered.
I thought you said there was a metal plate underneath the orb.
No, the orb is made of metal, and you knocked a little soot off of it.
I'm sorry. I am not working.
Nope, that's fine.
This is such an Abbott and Costello moment.
Sometimes I forget. I'm sitting here looking right at the object. I know what it is. I know what it looks like.
And it's usually me.
That means I'm doing a bad job of describing.
No, I am doing a bad job of, getting the picture.
It happens. You get confused on what's where, and we got to figure it out. Yes.
If that's the case, I'm going to pick up the darn orb and wipe off and see what's.
So you pick up this orb, and as you do, some of the soot falls away. And what you see is that you are holding what looks like it's actually a, I forget the term that I want to use. I don't know if concentric is the right term, but these two metal rings that sort of intersect over each other. In the center of it, there appears to be, held by a rod connected to the innermost ring, is a lump of charcoal. And as you pick it up and you're sort of dusting off some of this, you notice that as you look at it, the very heart of this piece of coal begins to glow with the light of a candle flame. And you can sense just a tiny remnant of warmth coming from it.
Jeremy, did you just call timeout? What do you?
No, I think he was covering his face with his hands.
He went like this.
No, I didn't see that.
It's like, go Ted, right?
No, yeah.
That's exactly right. Touch it, Ted. Touch. No.
Yeah.
And you see You feel this tiny hint of warmth coming from it. And then, like flash paper, I need to know who was standing immediately next to Thorgarn, within 10 feet of Thorgarn.
I was.
In any direction. Who was that? Griveth?
Yep.
Drown was in front of the fireplace.
Yeah, I
so-
know.
Yeah, I was warming up by the
I
fire.
know Gerithan and Yesha specifically were over by the fireplace because they were trying to get warm. And let me
Drown
just
was tending
check.
the
Let me
fire,
check
so-
the map.
You tell me where I am in relation to what just happened.
So,
I'm
Honestly,
11
Cantriel is probably
feet
just trying to
away.
move. Probably trailing behind everyone because of the coat.
so with it putting you within 5 feet, it'd be. So if that's there, it's a 10-foot radius. That's going to be here, here, here.
So what save are we all
Uh,
rolling?
I'm looking at the grid specifically on this map. Even if you're standing next to the fire, you're within the radius.
So
The only
I
way
had to-
you're not caught in this is a 20-foot diameter of area of effect. Would be is if you left the room or you were outside on the porch still.
Yeah, I hadn't had the chance to kind of describe what Talmud was doing, but the plan was that I was going to start bringing firewood up to the room
And-
enough so that we would have to burn through the night.
And that's fine.
So,
I mean, I
could
kind of
have been
like
at the window, maybe.
I like the idea that you're you've got an armload of firewood and you're just making your way up. And you look through the window where you guys had climbed through, and you've got this bundle of firewood, and Yesha sort of looks over at you and kind of smiles, standing in front of the fire, and then, and I need a Constitution saving throw from everybody.
I have a question. Would Cantriel have seen this thing sparking to life?
Because of the nature of it, only Thorgarn would have, because he was holding it, and it pretty much happened within an instant.
Okay.
So I guess no
Um,
dispel magic there.
And I need a Constitution saving throw for Yesha as well, Jeremy.
Is there a Griveth bonus to the save?
If you're
is that
within
a
10
thing?
feet of Griveth, there's a +3 to all saving throws. Correct?
No, that is not correct. Oh yes, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I
I'm
was gonna
sorry.
say,
It
you're
is. Yeah,
still a
yeah,
paladin,
sorry,
right?
sorry. Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, I had a brain fart there.
I mean,
yeah,
I know
that's correct.
Tasha's just came out, but that's a big change.
Yeah, you get a +3. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was thinking about something else. I'm sorry.
Jake, I'm using one of the dice.
Okay. So
I
there's
got
a
a
domain
dirty
die down.
20.
Oh, that's much better.
I rolled a 1, and so I'm burning a die, and that got me a nat 20. So
Hey.
Okay. Cantriel and
That's
Drown
much
are
better.
good. Thorgarn?
15.
That's
I got a
f-
24.
Okay. Good. Gerithan?
Dirty 20.
Talmud? You're fine, Yesha.
Okay. I spent a domain die because I thought being at the window, I still needed to roll.
No, you were outside of the area of effect.
Okay. Then I didn't spend a domain die. And,
But you did need to roll for Yesha.
She got a 14 on the die.
So Yesha and Thorgarn fail. Everybody is going to take damage. Except for Talmud. The amount of damage I am going to roll. And there's a reason I grabbed a bunch of dice here.
Oh no.
Oh, I grabbed
Probably
the
to
wrong
roll the
kind.
damage.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Stop counting.
I roll 5 twice. I'm rolling 10d10.
No.
So that's
Remember, there's
2,
15 separate hit
5,
points for
8,
everybody.
11, 21, 22, 27, 34, 42, 46, plus 35.
Oh, dear God.
81 points of radiant damage.
What?
Blast
hey, under
out
average.
in a surge. So Yesha and Thorgarn take 81 points total. The rest of you will take 40 points of radiant. And Talmud, you are temporarily blinded by this flash that happens.
And then Dawnbringer drinks it all up, right? So we don't take any damage.
What's that?
Dawnbringer drinks it all up so we don't take any damage.
What are you talking about?
The Radiant.
Are you just making stuff up?
I'm just making that up.
Okay, I'm like, I know I haven't looked at
he is.
Dawnbringer in a while, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have an absorb all radiant energy.
I think it does. I'm pretty sure. I was just looking at it for something else.
Did you see that? Yeah, Zach. I figured you saw that, right?
mhm.
Wait,
So-
Jake, I got a 15 on my con save.
You got a 15 on yours?
Yeah.
Oh, you take the 81 too.
Okay.
That's a fail.
Would I have a chance to react to?
I was going to say, you
Use
could
my-
react to try and reduce
I
the
wanna-
damage on someone.
I want to use my protective field if possible and kind of reach out with the psionic field and try and deflect some of the blast from Yesha.
Okay, what is that? How does that work?
I spend a die and reduce the damage. As long as the creature's within 30 feet, it's a reaction.
Okay.
Just going to guess by not nearly enough, but it's a valiant effort.
It's the thought that
Oh,
counts.
God.
I'm
Yeah,
doing
Cantriel's
this
not
for
looking good.
brownie points, not because I think it'll help.
I'd be doing the same thing, but I have to be raging in order to use it. So
Mm.
All right.
Okay,
so-
I have a question. Can I, when when he does the shield, can I forego my saving throw and take all the damage that Yusha would take? Like throw myself in front of her and take all the damage and fail my
The
saving
problem
throw?
is that it's not something you can just stand in front of and shield. It affects everything in the area.
Okay.
Gerithan is using a psychic ability to sort of. I'm gonna let him flavor it how he's deflecting this to reduce.
How about
the
if I
damage.
threw myself on her and totally covered her up? Like I was
You'd
going
still
on a
both
grenade.
be in the area of effect. I mean, it's like jumping
Alright.
on somebody in a fireball.
All right.
You're still
It'd
gonna
have
get
to be
burned.
something like a wall.
Yeah, you'd have to
you can't
actually
give
throw
a
up a
total.
wall spell or something like that.
It's not like a backdraft fire, Scotty.
Yeah, I
so-
know, but the idea is just to cover her up so she's not exposed. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
No, I see what you're trying to do, but because of the nature of this, you're basically trying to shield somebody from light that is filling the entire space. Gerithan, what's your reduction?
So, in a kind of instinctive reaction, I kind of just lurch out with this power, and it's not a lot. It's 6 points less.
6 points
Um,
less?
Yeah.
So Yesha, at her maximum, has 50 hit points. And has just taken 75. So, Talmud, as this flare happens, and everybody just gets hit with this, it's light and heat. D&D Beyond's not updating for me, so I don't know what you guys are at hit point wise. Cantriel, I know you're hurting. And Thorgarn, I think you took full
Yep.
damage as well.
I did. I'm down at 43.
And so Talmud, you just see this sudden flash, and that image of Yesha smiling is burned into your retinas for a moment. And then you sort of get that dazed sort of the grenade just went off, the ringing in your ears kind of thing. And you look, and Yesha is lying unconscious on the floor in front of the hearth. Cantriel is reeling. Thorgarn has, I imagine, blood running from his nostrils and his ears. The item is still in your hands, Thorgarn.
Oh, it's on the floor.
It's still in your hands. It's
Oh, God.
seared to your palms from the sudden burst of heat and energy. You tried to drop it, but you couldn't. And that's
You gotta oil the meat first, man.
but you also see that the because your detect magic was still sort of going, as it is, I don't remember, is that a concentration spell? I think it is. But as it's blasted away from the damage, you sense the magic has just left this object when you picked it up. You activated whatever magic was left in it, and it is now dormant.
Okay.
So I will take a moment and shut up, and I'm going to let you all react to what the heck just happened. A silent grenade of light just went off in your midst. Yesha is unconscious.
Drown just kind of, and he has like almost like a sunburn on half of his face with a little bit of a shade from where he got his mitt in front of it. So like,
Can I use
kind of,
if the thing is stuck to my hands, can I use lay on elbows to heal Yesha?
I mean, it's not stuck so bad that you can't pull it off. You're going to pull some flesh off with it.
Well, that's fine.
But I just meant that you weren't able to immediately just reflexively drop it because it had. You guys were joking about Home Alone earlier. It's kind of like when you grab that door with the heat on it. You've got a couple of runes are momentarily burned into your palm.
Nice.
But yeah, you can. You could rush over and lay on hands.
Absolutely will do so. Can't have my my cousin killing me for killing his reincarnated daughter.
RQ Staffin said it's the COVID lay on elbow maneuver. It's not safe to touch people with your hands, so you have to lay on elbows.
So I will heal her for 20.
Okay. So, she, as you do this, she just starts blinking, and you can see the dilation in her pupils as she's just trying to. What the nine hells just happened? And is just looking around at everybody. Talmud, what about you as you just saw her once again go down?
Once he finally has his vision back, he's throwing himself through the window. The firewood that he'd been gathering is abandoned on the porch or possibly even over the side of it. And he's just head first through the window as quickly as he can and scrambling to get over to her.
Griveth is, as the spots go from the eyes, he's just trying to assess what happened, you know.
Cantriel, how you doing?
Cantriel's probably staggered back against the wall and slowly sliding down. And as she is sliding down, she's going to say, "You just had to fucking touch something, didn't you?" And she casts Mass Heal Wounds. Or Cure
Before
Wounds.
you do that, Cantriel.
Oh no.
I need you to roll a d8.
But I don't want to go on a date.
Well, you're the one that said you were staggering around the room. I want to find out what direction you're staggering.
No, she's not staggering. She's leaning against the wall.
Right, but
like,
in order
sliding
to
down
get
the
to the wall, I have to see what direction you went.
Oh, I thought I was standing by the wall. 6.
Okay, let me get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So yeah, you actually end up against the wall. That's the same wall near the door, or sorry, near the other window. And less against the wall and more against like a sideboard. As you kind of collect yourself, you're on the same wall, sort of between the window that you guys came through and the other window. Wait. 8. Okay, yeah, you're good.
Am I really?
Yeah.
wait, no, you tripped over the other orb.
Nope, you tripped over. There's like, it's a Skyrim glitch.
Roll
All of a
saving
sudden,
throw.
there's another
With
burned
disadvantage.
skeleton and
Dear
another
God.
orb.
You fall into the
no.
pit of orbs. It's like a bouncy ball pit.
Okay. So everybody's sort of reeling and recovering, and then you cast mass
Cure wounds.
cure wounds.
Yep, and that's going to be mass. 16.
All right, that's going to bring Yesha up to 36. Good. All right. So what are you guys doing?
Ow. Sorry.
Never a break with you people. Never a break.
Talmud's rushing over to Yesha. Are you okay? Is everything all right? It looked bad. Is everyone all right?
I don't know. Are we?
Drown just kind of shrugs and
How much? I'm sorry. How much should we heal?
16.
16 from
16.
the mass heal. Yesha's looking at you, Talmud. How long was I out?
Just a moment. Not long at all.
I was worried about what we just talked about last night. But I saw something. I saw what looked like a floating spectral head of a very angry man. Right over there. And she points right over to where the table is and where the burned skeleton is. He had flames in his eyes. And I looked over at him and I was spectral too for a moment. He saw me. And he came rushing at me. He said, "Fix it." And then I came too.
Can I look in the direction that she pointed and use the divine sense?
You certainly can.
Anything register as hallowed, celestial, fiend, undead?
Nothing is registering.
So while that's happening, you said there was a charred book near the corpse?
Yes, on the table, which has a charred surface, there's the charred remains of a book. It looks as if it's mostly burnt away, but there is some writing on the spine still visible.
All right, Drown will kind of gently scoop that up as best he can and see if there's anything intelligible.
The pages are crumbling and falling away. The bottom part of the book cover is fused to the table. What you can make out is a handful of letters of one part of one word or an entire word that is left in very soot covered but slightly gilded lettering. E-T-H-E-R. They're all together like it's part of one word.
Ether. That's all that's left. And he'll just kind of let it fall. And
Can I
you said
crouch?
there was a workshop in the last room?
The previous room had a workshop, yes. There is from this room, there's 3 doors along the northern wall, and there's a hallway that goes to the east a little bit too.
Can I crouch down by what is left of this weird orb that just half incinerated us and try and discern like its arcane nature?
You can make an intelligence arcana check. Yes.
I'm really good at those. Ooh, 21.
Okay. Looking at it where it lies on the ground now, the surge, the blast seems to have knocked away the soot that was on these rings. You see the arcane runes around it. And you recognize some of the sigils in here that whatever specifically this device is, its intention is to be able to control the weather.
Does it seem like it's kind of been destroyed now?
It looks like, as you look at it, it doesn't look destroyed. The metal rings are intact. The charcoal lump in the center is still attached by the rod that's holding it. You'd have to spend a little more time looking it over and see, now that you know what it was intended for, you could make a insight check.
I would like to do so.
And you can do so at advantage.
Mm. Okay, how about a 14?
Looking this thing
How
over.
about spinning a domain die?
Hey, great idea. We have so many.
It's almost as if Dan had a natural insight into the DM's hesitation.
I do not know what the DC of this check might be, but 14 feels like it's either 1 too low or 6 too low.
Just remember, you are all level 12. This is a high-level adventure. So what's your new check?
16.
So that's either more than you needed or 4 less than you needed.
Right.
You're looking it over, and as you look at it, you realize what you witnessed was a malfunction.
Mm.
The rings and the runes and the sigils designed to control weather, in their current configuration, they are too unstable. You guess that if there were a third ring around this object, it would have with runes in place, it would have the stability needed to function properly as a weather control device.
Do I see a third ring around? Can I roll perception?
Yeah, activate your eyes of Odin and see where the magical ping is for the quest item. No, you don't just see another ring lying around.
Okay.
But Talmud and Griveth and Yesha saw a workshop, and there's other parts of the building here, but.
There are other doors. While he's investigating the device, I'm gonna go look at one of the other doors, see if we can open it up, see what's going on.
So there's 3 doors, one to the far left, one sort of right behind this workbench, and there's a hallway that kind of goes to the east as another door. It actually has 2 doors, one to the south and one to the north.
The south goes toward the workshop, but we know from looking in the window or looking in that door, there wasn't another door in there, right?
Correct. Where the workshop is almost like an add-on to this building.
Got it. Okay. I guess send me down the hallway, and I'll go to the south door first.
Okay. So you head down there, and you pop open that door. Sure. Inside this room, you see that wooden planks have been nailed over the broken windows of this room to hold out the wind. The furnishings inside here include a saggy double bed and a bookcase containing some folded clothes, a few blank sheets of parchment, and a set of calligrapher's supplies. Next to the bookcase is a soot-stained hearth. Within the blackened ashes of the hearth, you can make out the bright, sort of yellowy brown look of a scroll that was tossed in but never set ablaze.
Interesting. All right, I'll go scoop that out of the hearth and then hopefully not explode.
You grab the scroll of instant fireball. No, I'm just kidding. You head over there and you
Tarask.
you see the scroll that as you grab it, it was loosely rolled up, and as you grab it, it just sort of, and you can see that there's writing on it in ink. Do you open it and read it? It's written in common. It is a letter that reads, Macredis, I've had enough of this damned relentless cold. I feel it creep into my bones, my head, my heart. I'm heading back to 10 Towns for a decent meal and a warm bed. I fear this endless winter has numbed your mind, and any tinkerer worth their chains can see that the summer star is a fool's errand. Maybe without me here to incessantly complain to, you'll finally snap out of your obsession. If you truly insist on dedicating your remaining days to this doomed project, might I suggest that 3 is better than 2? I considered telling you before, but you were particularly rude about the dinner I made last night. May the light of the Morning Lord protect you. Copper.
So Drown is kind of reading this as he slowly tromps his way back toward the hallway, and he'll say, I found something. It's a letter addressed to who was probably that corpse. He was trying to create something called the Summer Star, and he sort of snorts. It says 3 is better than 2.
Which would be right around the time, Gerithan, that you were surmising the fact that this was an unstable device.
Probably means a 3rd ring. This thing right here, it's meant to control the weather.
Well, I say if we try to activate it again, we stay well back.
In its current configuration, it's awfully unstable. A 3rd ring might be enough to stabilize.
It seems whoever this copper was knew that. Shame he was too petty to tell his friend.
There was a lot of twisted bits of metal and crafting tools and things in the room beside us.
Could be worth a look.
We'll give it a once over.
At your leisure, Jake, Drown is going to keep looking through the other doors. So go ahead and do whatever you want with other people.
Okay.
That's what he's doing.
So does anything happen when I scoop up the amulet?
You have an amulet in your possession.
Oh, sorry. One other question. Does 10 Towns mean anything to Drown? Probably not, because he's from the other side of the ocean, but
I
guess he might even say that out loud. Does the name 10 Towns mean anything?
I would
to him?
actually say that all of you, Drown, you can roll at disadvantage, but all of you could roll a history check for me. Gerithan, you're going to be at disadvantage as well.
That's a natty 1, so no.
6 for me.
26?
10.
History's
I rolled a
12.
6. I rolled a 6, which means 5.
What'd you get, Ted?
12.
Okay. Cantriel, you've heard of 10 Towns.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
10 Towns, you know of from the region you all originally, most of you, with the exception of Drown and Gerithan, hail from, is sort of in the area around where the Desserin Valley is. And you had your travels had taken you north and then west to Luskan, where you set sail across the sea to Saltmarsh and to Kaelin. You know, Cantriel, that 10 towns, if you were to continue north for a long ways over the spine of the world mountain range, you would come to the frozen north, known as Icewind Dale. Within the midst of Icewind Dale lies a grouping of small towns called 10 towns, because there are, in fact, 10 towns that make up this region.
Well, we're a long way from home, and she would relay all that information.
Suppose now we at least know where we are.
So, Ted, until you identify it, just make a note that you have an amulet.
Yep.
That you found. It's a golden amulet. That I think. One second.
Are there any identifying marks or anything on it?
The pendant and the chain are made of gold, but the pendant itself bears the symbol of two hands cupping the sun. I'm not going to make you roll for that. As a cleric and paladin, you recognize this to be Lathander's symbol, the Morning Lord. Drown, you were continuing to check out rooms. There is a door across the hall from you, where you...
Close the door we go.
Where you found, in the bedroom, you found the scroll. So the next room, it appears to be an abandoned bedroom. There's a stiff wind blowing through broken window in the east wall. There's a gray curtain that's just kind of flapping in the wind. And snow is on the bed and much of the surrounding floor. Not much to be found in there.
Okay, we'll just kind of.
There is also a cold hearth in both of the rooms. I described the hearth. Actually, correction. The hearth where you found the scroll would have been warm because it's opposite side of the one that you guys set ablaze in the other room. But it's not a complete and total pass through. Separated by stone. This room that you just checked has a cold hearth in it. So you're going to continue into the other room. And in there you will find... And this is sort of off of the main room, and anybody standing in there could look in and sort of see some of what Drown sees here. This room is... In here you see... this larger room contains a cold fireplace and two empty bookcases. You do see all across the floor and tacked to the walls are frost-covered blueprints. There are a number of blueprints, drawings, and sketches, some of which have been wadded up, some of which have been crossed out, all of them depicting variations of a stone with rings and runes around it. On the floor, face down next to one of the blueprints, is a tiny man made of clay.
So Drown will just kind of look over his shoulder and say, I have many diagrams here, drawings. They seem to depict the object. Many of them. Yeah, I'll head in and just kind of check them out. The clay figure is it's on the floor?
Yep.
I'll just a little clay dude? Nothing.
Yeah, just lying face down on the floor. About 12 feet, 12 inches. Jeez, what is with me tonight?
12 foot.
He's a 12-foot tiny man.
That's so small.
I will just kind of gently nudge it with the toe of my boot to kind of knock it aside a little. Not hard, just push it over.
You kind of flip it over, and it's just a little clay man with barely any features to it. Just enough to have a sort of the shape of a man and slight features. But like whoever made this didn't bother to put extra details into it.
Huh. Weird. All right. Well, I'll gather up some of the blueprints and I'll bring them out to show the others.
All right. Gerithan, seeing these in particular, it literally just confirms what you've already assessed by studying this device, that whoever it was that created this device, they came close on some of their plans, but among some of the crossed out designs is a design with 3 concentric circles around it. And then just a note that says a waste of time. Most all of the drawings focus on this device with 2. There's clear indication of what the runes are supposed to be, the proper order and spacing. And you can sort of look at it and get the sense that if somebody had some skill with forging metal, working with smith's tools or tinker tools, there's a possibility that you could fashion out of materials in the workshop a 3rd ring, create the runes necessary, and attach them to this device.
Yeah, I kind of just say, if we so desired, I believe everything we have is here. If anyone has the skill, we could try and put together this 3rd ring, find out exactly what this device is capable of.
But what tools do we need to put this back together?
Something capable of working metal.
There's a workshop just outside.
I am a smith.
Seems right up your alley then.
And just for good measure, I'll poke my head in the last door. One more.
Okay. The last door. You open up that door and you see a splorch. I'm kidding. As soon as you open the door, the entire room fills with the sweet smelling scent of wine. There are 4 frost-covered barrels labeled with the brand of Sweetberry Summer Wine. Is anybody here proficient in brewing?
Thorgarn.
Thorgarn, you recognize that brand. That, in particular, because Sweetberry Summer Wine originates from a vineyard in the Desserin Valley, not far from where you guys were from, the name of which just left my head. Blazingdell. Not far from Blazingdell is this Sweetberry Summer wine vineyard. This wine is a long way from home, and you get the sense, Drown, that this stuff is frozen from the extreme cold. And as Dr. Faust has said, this stuff is available at Trader Joe's. It's known as $2 Chuck.
Well, damn, what a waste.
Drown, as you turn back from this room, this door, to head back into the main room, you hear a cracking and splintering sound beneath your feet as the floor gives way.
Cool.
I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Yupper. I'm going to use domain die, because no thank you. Oh, God damn it. Am I close to the paladin?
Given that you went all the way over here, there's really no reason for Griveth to have been in this area.
Okay.
And if Griveth is in this area, he would also have to make this save and would have had to make it ahead of time.
Welp. Okay. That is a 15.
Okay, so here is what happens. As you're all going about doing what you're doing, and Drown's sort of clearing all the rooms and checking everything out, Drown closes out this last room, just turns to walk towards you all, and you just hear the cracking sound of the floor. And an entire section of floor breaks free from underneath Drown. And before any of you can do anything, you watch as Drown falls through the floor.
Wait a minute, I have Featherfall.
As Drown falls through the floor, Drown. Now you can cast Featherfall if you want. Drown, you pass through the floor. And you see below you that the section of floor is above the gorge. You're looking at about 150-foot drop.
Damn you, Perkins. All right.
And you suddenly feel a little bit of a sharp pain in your shoulder and a lurch as something grabs hold of your shoulder. And you slam into the edge of this gorge. And you turn to look. And about a 9-foot tall werebear is holding you by the scruff of your shoulder. Looks into your eyes, and it's basically looks like a humanoid looking polar bear wearing a variety of leathers and stuff, and it looks at you and it says, "Easy there, fella. Don't worry. I got you." And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Awesome.
I was hoping that there was going to be an opportunity to introduce the werebear this session.
You're welcome.
So I wasn't hoping for somebody to fall through the hole in the floor, because that is a long drop. I also was a little worried when somebody decided to pick up the Summer Star.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's any chance any group doesn't pick up the Summer Star.
The problem is, just depends on what group it happens to. You guys are level 12, so you're lucky. That 10d10 plus 35 is no joke. That's up to 135 points of damage.
Yeah, average is 90. You can show up here at level 4.
Yeah.
I threw it out to the group of, do I keep going? And nobody stopped me. So
I couldn't stop you.
That's all
We're
right.
all very curious.
Whatever, dude. I understand.
I guarantee somebody in this group would have picked it up. And to be perfectly honest with you, there's a point where Yesha may have, even once she got warm, gotten curious with her sticky fingers.
10 intelligence, 13 wisdom.
So this has been Snow Glows White on the Mountain Tonight. It is important to just remember, because I know I struggle to remember this too, that it's essentially nighttime still, though you spent 8 hours. Everything has basically, I mean, look at any one of your backgrounds. Jeremy's in particular, I think, is really succinct. Everything has this sort of bluish glow, at times in shadow. Things would be considered dim light. But the inside of the cabin is warm. Some of you are a little toastier because of the malfunctioning Summer Star. You're working towards fixing it. Drown just had his life saved by a massive werebear. And we'll see what happens the next time we play. It is most likely, I know things are weird in the world, but we're probably still not going to play next Thursday. I imagine some people want to spend some time with their immediate family, unless the Dawnbringers tell me otherwise when we go off air. We're going to plan on not playing next week. And when we do return, and whether or not it's next week or 2 weeks, we're going to have M back with us. And we are going to run a very special, it's going to end up being probably 2 to 3 session arc. I'm thinking 3. Zach will remain with us as Gerithan for part of that arc, for that arc as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm still not telling you what they're playing, but everybody here will be playing completely different characters, as we're going to see what Fig has been up to for all this time that he has been gone when the portal took Fig and brought Gerithan here. And all of you know from the vision that you all shared in the Night's Fang Spire that there is some truer purpose that Fig was manipulated, and Gerithan was manipulated into being in that exact location. So I hope you all had fun tonight. I know I certainly did. I missed playing with you all and playing with the Dawnbringers. It's exciting to be in a new area and to watch as things begin to unfold. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight, for the new follows, for the beard chits.
I am sorry, sir. What?
Huh? Hmm? Hmm?
PG show, Jake. What you doing, man?
For the cheered bits is what I was trying to say. From now on, bits are called beard chits, I guess.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. I've just been having problems tonight.
The domain dice.
This is water. It's straight up water.
Vodka. We all know it. Be
Give
honest.
me a water, straight.
Beard chits. I knew you all were sitting there. I could see you trying to figure out what I was trying to say. Yes. Thank you for the cheered bits and for the subscriptions. Oh my gosh. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. Be sure, we forgot to mention this at the top, but be sure to tune in to Nerdarchy Live tomorrow night, where you will find Ted, V, and I in our finale of the Chaos Crew season, as we wrap up that adventure, which is a monthly adventure along with Asa, Megan, and Frag, with Ted in the DM seat over there. Tune in this weekend to Talon and Claw at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, to catch me running the Liberation of the Evangeline, a pirate adventure, and then at 3:30 Eastern, and then I think at 7 Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. There are 2 games on the Wizards D&D official Twitch channel that I'll be producing for Jasper's Game Day, with Todd Stashwick DMing one and Fenway DMing the other. And of course, you can catch me on Sunday nights with the Talon and Claw, Gary from FortNerd.com, and GM Travis, as the 4 of us sail the SS Failboat in our continuing quest for treasure and glory in Sea of Thieves every Sunday night. And of course, Monday night we have our newly returned and slightly revamped All That Glitters Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaign. So lots of great stuff going on. I think Scotty, there was something in there. You got a stream going on this weekend as well.
Yeah, tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern time, I'll be showing a new video. I did this alien hive nest thing out of junk, so pretty cool. So basically I'm going to show the video and then talk about it, and if anybody wants to ask me any craft questions, I'll be on there to answer questions. So yeah, if you want to check it out, it's FXCon at Plaid. And if
Very
Jeremy, you
cool.
could put the link in the. Do you have the link?
And V, I believe you are doing something tomorrow as well with painting a Grick.
Yes, tomorrow, front page on Twitch for takethis.org. We have with Total Party Chill, they are running a pretty much a weekend long event, but it's called Wisdom Save Weekend. It starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be on Twitch front page. I will be doing a mini painting stream with Aaron Gray, and we're going to be painting the Alpha Grick from the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures Grick and Alpha Grick set. So you can join us at, I'm going to say it Eastern time because my brain is starting to freeze up and seize, 3 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch front page or Total Party Chill here on Twitch.
And who is Aaron Gray?
He is one of the co-founders of Cantrip brand.
Okay, very cool. Because when I hear Aaron Gray, I immediately think Colonel Wilma Daring from Buck Rogers. I just had to check to be sure.
Yeah.
But so lots of great stuff going on this weekend. Also, not a sponsor, but check out the newly released Tasha's Cauldron of Everything on D&D Beyond. I'm still waiting to get a chance to dive into some of the cool stuff that's in there, but many of our players tonight, Dan, Scotty, and Ted in particular, and Zach actually, all had characters dramatically affected by newly released subclasses and things that came out of there. Lots of really cool stuff in there. So be sure to check that out. So one final thank you, of course, to Scotty, Dan, V, Zach, Ted, and Jeremy, without whom this would just be me talking to myself for 3 hours. With that, we're going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream, and you can say it with me if you want. Beer
chits.
Beer chits.
Beardy bits.